Thank you for listening in to Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button and share. Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. I'm Alison J. Today we're going to be speaking about prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is a cancer that affects men. There are often no early indications of prostate cancer. Researchers predict that 248,530 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in the year of 2021. It is more common in men that have a family history of prostate cancer. Today, we will be speaking with Patrick Williams. Patrick is an awareness speaker, volunteer, and a survivor. Patrick, welcome to Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. I'm so glad to have you.
It's my pleasure.
So Patrick, you're an awareness speaker and a volunteer, but what led you to this path? Because you are also a survivor. So if you can just take us through your journey, your story in how you were diagnosed with prostate cancer and what really led you to being the awareness speaker and volunteer. Because many people are diagnosed with things and they don't turn to being that person that champions the cause. So if you can tell us about your journey.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, I'm an awareness speaker for Prostate Cancer UK and also a volunteer for Prostate Cancer UK. And I was this before I got diagnosed. So I would fundraise for them, so go out and shake a bucket, etc. And then I think that when I became diagnosed, I became a speaker because I'm fairly theatrical. Being a thespian of old, I'm used to the stage and used to talking to people on a one-to-one basis as well as large groups. So it came natural to me, I suppose, in that respect. Mm-hmm. Now, in October 2019, mm-hmm. I decided to go for what we would call a general checkup at the over 50s clinic in the hospital that's very near me. Now, I went to that hospital and I asked, I said, can I get a PSA, which is the prostate antigen specimen, right? Or I put it another way, prostate specimen antigen, PSA, that's what it is, test, which is basically a blood test, and they look for the antigen in the blood. Mm-hmm. And this kind of gives an indicator. It's not a foolproof thing, but it gives an indicator. So I went and they took this blood and I heard nothing. This was on the 9th of October. I heard absolutely nothing. Then I came back for a follow-up in December, roughly around the same time. And sorry, I'm just pulling the drapes here because the sun, would you believe it, in the UK is coming through my window. And I had I went for this follow-up. And I sat down and I spoke to the doctor, the very doctor who I spoke to get the test. And I said, so what was my PSA? And I could give you what her response was, which is quite startling. Did you do a PSA test? And I thought, oh, you were the one that authorized it. And you're asking me? I said, yes, I did. Oh, and then she started to look. And then it was then that we had a problem because her eyes just bulged out. Wow. And I thought, oh, the fact that it's bulging means that something's not right here. Mm-hmm. So I kind of, in my mind, focused on the idea that she was going to say something, because there's three things that you could have a problem with. Now, when a man gets to about 50, that's a general man. Mm-hmm. 1 in 8 men around 50, generally the population, will have an issue with prostate cancer. But they will also have problems with 2 other things, which is an enlarged prostate or prostatitis. Now, I'm a black man. the ratio changes. It becomes 1 in 4 men, right? And that's at 45. So
And
here,
that's what I asked you. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because in doing my research for prostate cancer, I noticed that there was a higher probability for a Black man to have prostate cancer than another ethnicity.
yes, and that's very true. And so here it was that me as a Black man at 64, suddenly realizing with horror that I am going to be, or I'm way over that time scale, so there might be issues here. So what do I do? And the fact that she reacted in the way she did told me that something was wrong. So I psyched myself up for this straight away. Then she said, "Oh, your PSA is very high." And I said, "How high?" And I'm quoting what she did. She said, "Very high." And I said, "Oh, how high?" "Very high." I said, "Well, tell me the number." You
Okay,
know, she
because
says,
we've established it's very high, right?
yes. So I was kept like this, hanging on. And then she eventually told me 149. Now it's because of being a volunteer for Prostate Cancer UK. I knew that I was in an area which was not good.
Right.
Because the actual safe zone for a man anywhere over 50, testing for with a PSA should be 0.8. And here I am as 149.
And that's what I was going to say. So let's just make it clear. The safe range is 0.8.
Yes.
You are at 149.
Yes. Yes.
My God.
So she said, "We're going to have to put you through another PSA test." So they authorized that the same day, and I had it. They took the blood, right? By the way, I always call any of the phlebotomists who try to do this, I always call them vampires. Right? And in my hospital, they're on the ground, they're on the underground floor. So I thought, you are well suited to be where you are, So I went to the vampires to get my blood taken, right? And I'm quite jovial about this and everything. And they said, "Well, come back the following week and we'll give you the results." So I thought, well, maybe it was a glitch and I'm coming back and, it's going to be different. Well, that wasn't the case, because when I came back, my PSA had jumped higher. It had now gone to 174.
What time frame are we talking about between the 148 and the 174?
Well, the time scale is October the 9th to December 14th, possibly.
So not long at all. So that's how fast this cancer can progress, right? So because that's not a long frame at all.
No, there's not a lot of time here at all, in my case. But let's establish something first of all. When I went in October, right, the fact that I was at 149, alludes to a situation of where the cancer was now in a situation where it was advanced. And when you get into an advanced cancer situation, immediate treatment or intervention is quite necessary. And this is where I think things began to escalate. So you needed to do this. Now, I don't believe, because prostate cancer is one of the slowest growing cancers that there is, but there is a threshold that when you cross that, then there's no, the time scale or ratios go out the window.
Right, it's just aggressive.
So yes. And I then was, so at that point, within about a couple of days, I had other x-rays that were taken, x-rays that had not been done before, like a prostate MRI. I also had the nuclear bone scan as well, because now I understand why to do the nuclear bone scan, because if the cancer were to leave the prostate, the average, or the areas that surround it, which would be the pelvis and other places like in the bones, can become affected quite quickly, as well as particular organs like the liver or the kidneys or even the spleen. But when the prostate MRI picked it up, there was problems in my ribs, so it had gone into my bones. I had problems in the lymph nodes. Now, when it goes into the lymph nodes, you are in a little bit of a problem here, because that can go anywhere then.
Wow.
Okay, so it was in my lymph nodes. It was in the seminal vessels, which are vessels that come from the prostate into the sexual organs. Right. So now the prostate is a very important organ in the body for a man, because this is where sperm is. Sorry, not sperm. It is where the colorless liquid, right, that carries the sperm is produced. The sperm cannot do anything without this liquid. And because this was stunted or had a problem, right, it meant that my whole system of being a man was now in jeopardy. Now, the results came back, as I said there, I had problems in these particular areas. So I had an appointment, an urgent appointment with urology, which is the area that deals with this. And that was on the 11th of January, 2020. And I remember very clearly what happened there. There was issues in relation to the hospital, because the consultant who saw me had seen me 2 years previous, right, for pain in an area that can also be associated with the prostate. And I was sent home.
So that's where I was going to ask you. You were just sent home. So could that pain potentially have been early detection if they had paid attention to you?
Possibly, and very likely it could have been. But it is unclear how we would find that out now, because we just don't know. And because that no tests were taken at that time to actually ascertain that that's where my problems were coming from.
But let me ask you something, Patrick, because as we've established at the beginning, that a Black man has a higher probability of having prostate cancer than any ethnicity, yes? And if you don't mind me asking, what was your age at the time that you had that first, the 2 years previous that you had that first, that pain that you went to see them for? Were you not over 50 by then?
I was over 60 by then.
Okay, so that's my point. So you are in a higher risk group just for the simple fact of being a Black man. You are
Yes.
at the age where, again, puts you in even a higher bracket being a Black man. You presented with pain and nothing was done, bearing in mind doctors and so on would know that all these factors.
That's very true, and nobody bothered about that, at the time, which is really bad. So by the time, let me go back to where I was, because then we come to that part where it became a problem. So when I saw this particular doctor, I had remembered her, and I thought to myself, not you.
Ouch.
Anybody else but you.
Wow.
Right? Because this was a person who sent me home without even so much as holding my hand. So in other words, she hadn't even physically examined me. And I'm thinking, you are the person that's going to determine what's wrong with me at this stage. In fact, actually, she was quite shocked when I said that I'd had these two tests, which was the prostate MRI and the nuclear bone scan, because she said, how could you possibly have that without coming through here first? And I thought, what's the problem? Thank God it has been done, because it saves you having to order it now. It means that we can move in at a quicker rate, because already I'm further down the chain. And you know what? Thank God. Thank God. Because on average, by the time you go and you book in, this is what happens here at the moment. Book in, you might get a scan in about 3 weeks, right? And then you have to wait another week to get the results. which meant a month later. So it meant that I would now be diagnosed in February.
But that's what I was thinking, because when you were saying that all the tests that you had between December and January, in my head, I'm thinking, in all my years of living in the UK, I've never known appointments to happen that quickly for anything.
Well, I think
On
that
the
because
NHS,
that
so private, yeah.
yeah, but I think because the doctor who had seen the second PSA realized that you can't sit on this,
Right.
right? Because this is moving at an enormously fast rate.
Right.
We can't wait 2-3 months to get an appointment. We have to have this appointment now, right? Because if we don't have this appointment now, right, this could become terminal. And that's why it was rushed for me, because even I was thinking, my gosh, I got an X-ray at such a very quick time, you know. And so she was giving up. She was giving it what for, right? And I just thought, I just sat back and let her get it on, you know. And then I was very calm, cool, and collected, and said, well, thank God somebody decided to do it early, because now I'm sitting here. You can see what that result is. Right. So can you look at it now, please, and tell me? So, but previously she said, everything that I said did not sound like it was cancer. When she opened up the computer and she looked at my situation, she said, I take all that back.
Oh, wow. Patrick, seriously?
Yeah, she says, I take all that back.
My goodness.
Now, again, that's all she said. She has not even told me the extent of how bad this was. So that's all I'm hearing. She says, I need to do what is called the DRE. It's called the digital rectal examination. So for those who don't know, it is the finger up the bum. And every man that I've ever encountered says, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. Listen, I would have the finger up my bum anytime, because it's less than 5 seconds than to go through some of the other very intrusive examinations that I have done, and the worst being the biopsy, which I will tell you about that in a minute. Because I thought, people laugh when they hear me say this, but believe me, that's exactly what happened. So let me carry on with this story. When she did the finger up the bum, which was, I said, less than 5 seconds, because it was no sooner there than it was gone. But I was looking at her face, and I saw her face, and I said, is everything all right? Knowing full well by the face that something was wrong, right? And she said, well, actually, no, it's not all right, because I was expecting to feel something soft and squidgy, except it was quite hard. And she said, excuse me a minute. And she went out of the room. When she came back in with another woman who had a badge on. And I've seen enough TV. I've seen enough adverts for places like Macmillan and all of these to know this was a Macmillan nurse that was coming in the room.
Okay.
So I am about to be told the worst news that you could ever possibly have. Now, let me be clear with this. I am alone. There is no one with me when I am about to get this news. And I sat there, and the two of them sat across from me. And as they were about to speak, I said, let me stop you. I said, you're about to tell me that I have cancer. And they looked at each other, and the consultant said, yes, you do. And I said, okay. I said, I kind of figured that out. And she said, well, how did you figure that out then? I said, based on all the information that I'm hearing, plus I am a Prostate Cancer UK volunteer. And I'm telling you this without any favoritism, without any bias or anything. These were her words, and I quote, so we cannot fob you off, unquote. And I just looked at her.
Say that, like she said, because you told her that you are a volunteer for Prostate Cancer UK, her words to you were, so I cannot
fob you off.
And yes. For those in the US listening, if when somebody says I cannot fob you off, it means I can't just tell you anything.
That's exactly what it means here in the UK.
So I
So
cannot fob you off.
I have a very good memory. In fact, actually, I think it's one of these memories that's quite fantastic. I remember what people tell me word for word, verbatim. So when that's why I can relate it back to you. And there's more than I can relate back to you, which I'll come to later. And she was quite so nonchalant with this. And I'm thinking, I could literally slap you. Right? Because you have just told me something that I couldn't believe. Now I took it into my stride. I was quite, and she said, well, right, we're going to start you in medication. And I said, okay, is this going to solve the problem? And she said, yes. I said, is this going to solve and stop the cancer where it is, everywhere? Yes. Is it going to stop the cancer that's in the bones? Yes. This is a tablet called bicalectamide, which actually sends a message to the brain to stop producing testosterone. So in other words, then, my brain is going to be told that day, no more testosterone to this young man. I don't care how virile he thinks he is. I don't care how much of a stud he thinks he is. His stud days or whatever days are over. All right? I thought, cancer, I don't care what I have to give up. I don't care what it is. Besides, I am a Christian. Sex before marriage is not the thing for me. Right? So therefore, the idea that doesn't matter. Right? But I kept wondering, what else am I going to lose? Because testosterone is what makes me a man. So am I suddenly going to have a treble voice? Am I going to lose all the hair on my face, and suddenly start to sprout female genitalia or whatever? I didn't know what I was going to expect because no one is telling you anything.
They're just telling you what they're going to give you, but they're not telling you any possible side effects, outcomes, or anything. It's just literally, here, take this.
And I said that I can pick up this prescription in the pharmacy. But 2 weeks after I started taking this, they're going to contact me to come into the hospital. Again, don't know why, don't know anything. So before the 2 weeks were up, I got a call from a nurse that was at the hospital saying that I have to come to get my first injection. Now, I said, okay. And so I said, well, what's this injection? She said, well, this is the steroid that you're going to be given, right? The hormone, sorry, that you're going to be given. I said, but I thought I'm taking this hormone now. She says, yes, the hormone that you're taking is telling the brain not to produce it. The hormone that you're going to get is the hormone that's going to kill the testosterone that's there anyway. Right? Okay. Right. And she said, this particular injection you have to have every 3 months. Right? So it's a hormone that I get, just like how women who want to produce children have to get this injection. All right. It's the same thing, but it's the opposite.
Right.
Right. So it then produced what was called male menopause. Excuse me. Because I started having hot and cold sweats, severe headaches, cramps, exactly what I'm hearing that women have. I'm thinking, I used to look at all of you and think, oh, well, okay.
Wow.
This is the curse that has come, you can see in the book of Genesis. This is what it is. Here you go. And then suddenly I'm the one that's facing it.
My goodness.
And these hot and cold sweats would come on without any warning. I would be on the tube. Now, you would know what the tube is like, especially in London. And it is a horrible place. And suddenly, in this most packed position, you have a situation where you get these hot and cold sweats and you start perspiring profusely. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh gosh, no, no, no. But fortunately, they go as quick as they come.
Okay, good.
Right. So these were some of the things that I started to have to face, and mood swings, because that started happening as well. Oh yeah. I started having severe mood swings, and then I started to feel angry. I started to feel upset. I started to feel weepy, you know,
So let me
and
you
and it
back-
was the weeping, which was the one that I was really getting very disturbed about.
so let
And
me
this
ask,
started,
because you said that they were giving you some pills to take to tell your brain to stop producing testosterone. So the injection you were getting, what was that? Was it estrogen?
no, the injection that I was getting was one that kills the testosterone itself.
Right.
So though I had the pill that actually told the brain not to produce it,
Mm.
whatever testosterone was there in the body had to be dealt with because, and I will explain, prostate cancer cells feed on male testosterone.
Okay.
That's how they reproduce. So they have to stop this coming into the body
Mhm.
because that's what the cancer is feeding on. So to be able to strangle it, they have to stop this.
Right.
Now, the pills that I was taking, I could only take for 28 days, after which I had to stop. And the injection then replaced that completely. Now, the injection is a slow release thing that's going into the body. So every 3 months, I've got to go and get another injection.
Okay.
Then when they told me where I was going to get this injection, I thought I had a sleepless night for 2 nights.
Dare I ask where?
Your tummy.
Oh.
I am needle phobic.
Oh.
And somebody is going to tell me I'm not getting it in my arm.
Where you can look
I'm
away.
not getting it in my bum. I'm getting it in my tummy. And I thought, you have got to be kidding.
Mm.
Right? And I remember she said, and I thought, there's something wrong with what she's telling me here. It's a tiny needle. If you had seen the size of this needle,
Tiny is
I
relative.
could
Size is
not
relative, right?
believe.
It's relative.
Well, it wasn't relative to me. I mean, when I looked at it, I thought, and the thing was, I saw it
Mhm.
because I was hoping in my mind that I wouldn't have to see this,
Okay.
but I saw it, and I thought, that is absolutely ridiculous. They've got to be crazy. I'm getting a needle that size into my tummy. But in
Wow.
all fairness, I didn't feel it.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Okay, not until the second one, because the second one is now given at your GP surgery.
Okay.
And the nurse practitioner at the surgery, who I know very well, gave me the second one. And I thought, oh my God, this is horrible. I don't want this. But anyway, and so I have been taking this all the time. Now, mind you, this is in January 2020. We went into lockdown in March 2020. And I have this information going around in my head, or that I'm seeing, that I have prostate cancer.
Mhm.
I have not yet seen an oncologist. I don't know the extent of what this prostate cancer is.
Mhm.
And then we now go into lockdown. And we're getting news that certain services may not happen. And I'm thinking, this could not have come at a worse time.
Mhm.
So I went and I had, well, fortunately, the hospital kept in touch with me because I think they realized that they had not done right by me at the time, and they kept in touch with me. And I was told that I'm going to see the oncologist. But before I do that, I have to go and get a PET scan. And I thought, another scan, wow. And I said, yes,
Any
this
test
scan,
treatment you didn't have, like, gosh.
this scan shows up wherever the cancer is.
Okay.
So what it does is it lights you up like a Christmas tree. So the cancer comes up like lights all over your body, wherever it is.
Mhm.
Well, from what I understood, I was a full-blown Christmas tree in Madison Square Garden.
My gosh.
Right? And I thought, this is not good.
So it's
At
obviously
which stage they had not,
spread.
sorry, yes, it had spread quite a lot. And at this stage, they had not told me what stage cancer I was at or anything. So I then was brought to meet the oncologist, lovely lady, beautiful girl, beautiful woman. And she was very soft and sympathetic with me, very clear. I thought, this is a situation that I cannot go alone.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot go to this alone. So I asked two guys from church to come with me. One is, he is fantastic. He would sit there and he would scribe everything, word for word, that's being said.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to get a lot of information. I mean, things that I had forgotten, he had it in writing.
Okay.
You know, and she said to me, we want you to start a course of chemotherapy because we believe from what we've had from research that bringing chemotherapy into the equation now for you will give you more time. Note the phrase, give you more time. Nobody has told me anything about I have a time span. That kind of rung in my ears. Then suddenly 2 years started circulating. It will give you 2 years. And I'm thinking, was it 2 years extra or 2 years?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that was never explained to me. Well,
because they just don't even know.
No, they did.
Okay.
But they had to have it confirmed.
Got
So I was told that for me to have the chemotherapy, I first had to have the biopsy. And if there's any room for any clinical research, things that were coming up, that once I had the biopsy on file, then I would be a candidate for anything that was going, you know? So I said, okay, let me have the biopsy. And they said, oh, it's not going to be a problem. It's as easy as could be. Lies.
Oh.
I went to get the biopsy and they said, we're going to do it in a way. There is an area just underneath your testicles and just above your actual anus. And that area, we're going to insert a needle that will go straight to the prostate because it's the nearest section. Well, let me tell you something, Alison. Oh my gosh.
You're making my eyes water just thinking about it, Patrick.
Well, hang on. It's going to water some more in a second. When I went into the area, it was we were in complete lockdown.
Right.
And you had to arrive when your appointment was exact, because that's the time you couldn't come and hang around or wait around. And you were seen almost immediately. In a sense, that was good, because if I had to wait around, having seen what I was about to see, I would have been gone. Because the door opened and I saw this table with stirrups. And I thought, say what? My feet are going in there? So I am a hostage?
Welcome to a woman's world.
Yes, well, I thought myself this. And I went and I thought myself, how can I get out of this room? And I was about to go when the nurse, she must have realized from whatever vibes I was giving off that I'm about to head for the hills. And she blocked my path. Anyway, the registrar came in and I was ushered into the room. Now you're wearing one of these gowns that has the back open, and nothing underneath. And I have to get onto this bed and my feet have to go into this stirrup, and you are exposed to everything in that room and all who's in that room. And I'm thinking, this is my idea of a nightmare.
Like I said, Patrick, welcome to a woman's world.
I know.
You're already having mood swings, and you're already having the sweats, and you're already having
I know
emotions. So welcome. have
Oh,
the
wow.
yeah.
And I thought it could not get any worse when I was in for a surprise. I was in for a surprise because they have to inject the area to numb the area before they insert the probe. So you've got a probe going into your anus. So they need to see where the prostate is. And then you get this long, whatever it is, a needle of some form going through the flesh. And
Wow.
I'm fully awake and hearing the conversation.
Well, so all they do is numb the area.
Yeah,
Yet
I'm
you're
fully awake.
oh Lord.
I'm fully awake, and I'm hearing the conversation. And the guy, and I'm very serious here. No, I from what I'm about to say, you realize that I have no inhibitions. You cannot have this if you've got cancer. You cannot have any inhibitions if you've got cancer.
It's not
And
just
I'm hearing the man saying, I
think
can't see the prostate. There's too much poo. And I thought, I hope the bed just collapses and I disappear, because I thought there is no, my dignity is all gone.
that's what I was going to say to you when you say about inhibitions. To be honest, being a person that's gone through illnesses and having to, as far as I'm concerned, I've been poked and prodded for England, right? A gold medal winner here. And one thing I've always said is there is no dignity in being ill. If you basically you put your dignity in your pocket, or
Yes.
in some cases you just have to bury it and never pick it back up again, because there's no.
I know that is exactly what happens. You have to just ignore your dignity, because that is just going to be out the window. And every time they took a sample, believe me, I knew when they've done that, because whatever it is that they were using has a and you can feel the vibration in your body. And I'm thinking, oh, and I counted them. So I knew that they said they were going to take 7. So I was counting. So I knew that when it was number 6, this is the last one. Thank God. The worst is yet to come. They said to me, right, you're finished, but we need you to go and urinate, because we need to make sure that you can because I remember that a very good friend of mine at the time said to me that after he had had a biopsy, he could not pass urine. So they had to insert a catheter. And that catheter was inserted for 3 months. And I'm thinking, God, spare me this. Spare me. Anyway, I was able to do this. But like I said, the worst is yet to come. You have no control of your body functions while that area is still numb. And it's numb for at least another 2.5 to 3 hours.
Oh.
So I am going out the hospital and I'm flagellating like crazy, which I cannot stop. I just want that, and I just want the earth to open up and swallow me.
My gosh. I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't. But Patrick, I can't help it with the way
that I'm laughing, so it's okay.
Your experience, my Lord.
I just thought to myself, this is horrible. Who said that this is supposed to happen? Anyway, after having that, I thought, okay, nothing worse could possibly happen. Again, I checked those comments, because I then got a chance. I was called back. Sorry, but that's not true. I got a telephone call from a withheld number. So I answered it, and it was the oncologist. And she said, I was expecting to see you today. I said, well, I didn't know anything about this. And she said, well, look, can you come in next week so that we can talk? And I thought, what's she want to talk about? And she said, because I want to start you on the chemotherapy the following week. And I'm thinking, this is quite quick. So I'm kind of psyching myself up here again, as what's going on. So I went in to see her, and that was fine. And I started the chemotherapy the week after. And the drug that they were going to do was, and the name, the name eludes me now. I'm trying, because I could tell you what the name was, but the name eludes me at the moment.
Sure.
And I then had to present myself that morning at 9 o'clock in on the 4th floor, because that's where the oncology department was. And I went in, and then they had to give you a COVID test. So every time I went to get the chemotherapy, I had to have a COVID test where they put the thing down your throat and into your nostrils. Now, bearing in mind, this is my first COVID test, and suddenly this is how the test is. And I'm thinking, where do these people get off? Do you mean to tell me that this is how you're going to test people? Again, have I not gone through enough? Do I need to do more of this? And well, seemingly I was. Anyway, to cut a long story short, that was what happened. And then I was ushered into a room, and they took different gauges, etc. Now, I'm also diabetic. So they took my blood sugar, and my blood sugar, there were no numbers. It was only XXX, because I had to take a steroid pill, so many of them beforehand, dexamethasone, right? And this is what they also were saying that you can use, or that we were using during the COVID period, because it seems to have a very wide spectrum. Now, I was taking this on a religious basis, and I'm thinking, oh, then the likelihood of me getting COVID was not going to happen. Wrong. But let me go back to this. I'll come back to that in a minute. So during the time of my chemotherapy, I was okay. And after I had the first cycle, I had 5 more. Now, I used to count them down. Now, every 3 weeks, you had to go through an unweighted wait period. And so all through that time, I'm thinking, I'm going to lose my hair. I'm going to be ill. I'm going to be vomiting, diarrhea, the whole lot. I'm going to have pains. I'm going to have this. The only thing that I started losing was my hair was thinning.
Okay.
And I said, praise God for chemotherapy, because I got a haircut for nothing. It thinned out in beautiful. I mean, look at it. I mean, you can see, it's now growing back. Yeah. I didn't have to go. I saved money. Right? A friend of mine told me, find the good in every situation and you come out laughing. So and I did.
I was about to say that to you, because I'm listening to you, Patrick, and to be honest, there's people that have been diagnosed with much, much less, and they've completely just fallen apart. Well, with me, I'm dying. But here you are being diagnosed with prostate cancer. At this point, you now know that it's spread, and you are still so cheerful and so positive.
Well, yes. At that time, I did not know how bad my cancer was.
Okay.
Until I intercepted.
But even today, you know how bad it is, and you are still so positive.
Well, true. But I got a letter that was remotely sent to me that I was copied into, that was going to my GP. In that letter, it outlined what my Gleason score is. Now, the Gleason score is how they determine the stage of the cancer. And there are 2 numbers. Both of them are out of 5. If you score 5 out of 5 in both of them, you're at the highest rank and you are in trouble. Major trouble.
Okay.
My Gleason score was 4 and 5. Add them together, they come 9 out of 10. I was stage 4 prostate cancer. Oh. In addition to that, it had metastasized. So it was in my bones, it was in the seminal vessels, it was in the lymph node. I had, and then the letter, it was there, I had 2 years left to live. So I had a time given to me. I did not know how to deal with this at the time. I was just completely thrown.
Mhm.
I rang up the nurse specialist at Prostate Cancer UK and I read the letter out to her, and she kept apologizing. I'm so sorry that you had to have this diagnosis. And I said, how bad is it? She says it's bad, right? She said people have died from prostate cancer for less. And I thought, okay.
My God.
So in my head now, I kind of realized I have to be proactive.
Mhm.
I contacted my church. I told them, they started praying. My big sister is a Christian. I told her, she contacted her church in Port St. Lucie, there to where you are. They started praying. My little sister who lives in Trinidad, she has a group of prayer warriors from all over the world. I told her, she contacted everybody and they started praying. It was a whole prayer meeting all over the place.
All over the world.
All over the world. All right. Them, you coming from a West Indian background would understand when I say I could just picture these people shaking in the power, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking this because you had I could just see it. All right. So my little sister was very proactive. She did everything that she could, right, to get people out there praying. My big sister was an amazing support structure for me. She, just the one you spoke to,
Yeah.
she would send me messages, email. That's what I'm telling you, that how she has to come into the 21st century and get WhatsApp, because we could have been talking. Right? She kept sending me messages, and she was my strength. She was my strength.
Thank God for that.
She said something to me that I don't know if I can say it. I'm not ashamed to say it, but she said something to me. I don't know if I could say it without becoming emotional.
Okay, good.
Right? I'm going to try. She said
Whatever
to
you're
me,
comfortable with.
sorry?
Whatever you're comfortable with is fine.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. She said to me, let's get this straight. You are my number one priority. Okay? And I thought, she's put me even above her husband. Right? And I'm thinking, wow. Now, I was a Christian. I was a born again Christian before they all were.
Okay.
Many years. In fact, actually, they used to laugh at me. And now it's my turn. But she has been a rock to me during all that time. I went through all my cycles of chemotherapy. Not once did I feel sick. Not once did I vomit. Not once did I have the diarrhea. Not once anything, all these terrible situations that people were talking about. The only thing was the thinning of my hair and some pain in my legs. That was all that there was, nothing else. So I usually say to people, I looked at that dragon in the face called cancer and realized it was a garden lizard. And all I had to say was shoo, and it ran.
Yeah.
I looked at chemotherapy, another thing that people get worried and frightened about. I saw that as another dragon and realized that was an even smaller lizard. And you put them into little compartments and into little things. And through that, I've been able to talk about my journey. My journey lasted over a year. From the 11th of January 2020, I then got the all clear in March 2021.
Thank God. That's amazing news. That is such good news, Patrick.
I cannot be cured though, because the prostate cancer, once it leaves the prostate, it cannot be cured. It can be managed. So they're managing me now.
Okay.
Okay. So if I sneeze the wrong way, I'm in. I'm in contact. Right. So they are on me like you would be, oh my gosh, like they try to butter bread. as And I remember going through the place where I live now, the street, during the pandemic, and I bumped into this woman that I knew, right? We both were in the same organization talking about cancer and everything. And I bumped into her, and she had breast cancer. She told me that she had a double mastectomy. And I looked at her, and maybe it's the way I looked at her, she probably thought I didn't know what mastectomy was. She said, I got my breasts cut off, both of them. And I thought, yes, I knew that. Right? She said, but I got breast replacement. I got, them reconstructed. And I said, oh, right, okay. And she said, the surgeon was fantastic. Do you want to see? Before I could say yes or no, she opened up. And I'm in the street, and I just thought, oh my God.
Oh Lord.
Where do I look? Because
Not
you had to look because it's in front of your face. Right? And she said to me, I am 56 years old and my breasts are looking east. Women my age, they're looking south.
Lord.
She said, when I am 90, mine are still going to be looking east. She said, celebrate your cancer. And I thought, whatever she has just drunk,
you want some?
I want some.
You want some?
And then I realized, yes, take the bite out of this. Don't go into this doldrum of this is what the problem is, and oh my gosh, this and so on. No, you can absolutely triumph in the midst of this. And that's been what my journey has been. I did this on my own for the first part, but then my sisters came in and supported me. Both held either arm and propped me up. My church was there holding my back, right? You need people with you. Without people supporting you in this journey is going to be a nightmare. Now, on the 3rd of March this year, we buried or cremated a man who was younger than me, right? Who had the same diagnosis as myself. He passed away.
You know something, a lot of it I feel is also the attitude you have. You've got some people that are diagnosed with certain illnesses and they just give up all hope. And they just sink into this place of this is a death sentence and it's just, this is it for me. And I was watching, I think a few days ago, funnily enough, I think it was at some point over the weekend, I was watching this show called something like A Million Little Things or something like that it's called. And one of the characters on there was diagnosed with cancer, and she went through the treatment and she's on the other side. She just finds out she's pregnant, but she doesn't go through with it because, and I got so annoyed, even though I know it's only a show, I got so annoyed because all I kept hearing was, but supposing my cancer comes back, and you know how much I wanted to be a mother. And all she could focus on was supposing it comes back, supposing it comes back. And I thought, well, if you keep living and thinking like that, chances are it more than likely will, because you put yourself in that kind of frame of mind.
The mindset.
You didn't have there was no positivity. All it was supposing my cancer comes back. And she actually went through with a termination of a pregnancy and the cancer hadn't come back, but she was living in this constant state of what if?
Well, I can tell you that is a reality because I've had that experience. Right? I try to be positive, but sometimes, no matter how much you try, you can't get that. There is these shadows that are there. And sometimes when you're alone at night and it's in the dead of the night, like 2 o'clock, and you wake up and you can't go back to sleep, these are the thoughts that begin to haunt you. Right? And every ache, every pain, everything that isn't right suddenly becomes that cancer all over again.
Right.
And you know what? I remember looking at this and thinking, look, if this is it, I will overcome it like I did this time. Because my faith is in God. I believe, my belief is so strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that God healed me.
Yeah.
Because how could I possibly go through what I did without the side effects? People were marveled. And when they then told me, and I'm going to give you what my PSA is now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
0.1.
Hold on. So the safe range, go back to the beginning of this conversation. The safe range is 0.8. When they caught it in you, it was 149.
Oh, when they first saw it, yes, 149, yes.
It was 149, and that was in October of 2020, right? By December.
No, October 2019.
That's it, right? Sorry, October 2019. And by December of 2019, it was 170 something, you said?
74.
174. And that was December of 2019. So a year and 3 months later, it's down to 0.1. My Lord, that in itself is a miracle.
And people have marveled. How, and it's staying in that ratio, right? Because I'm getting the injections on a 3-monthly basis, and the chemotherapy has done. Now they have to monitor that very closely, because let me give you a reason why. Prostate cancer cells are very clever. They work out that they're being blocked.
Oh.
So they mutate and try to find another way to come around.
Okay.
And they come through a different angle. So they have to now keep looking at my PSA results.
To make sure.
So I am now being seen every 4 months. But that's good, because every 4 months, you can look at and see, you know what, let's have a look at this. All right? And let's check this and make sure that he's okay. Not waiting 2-3 years before they see you next.
Wow.
I go out and I spread the word. I tell people, I tell men, you are a Black man. You should have tested when you were 45. There's no reason why you can't come and then do it now. If you cannot, or you're having problems urinating, or you're doing it too often, go and get a PSA test. Tell your doctor you want one. Now, one of the symptoms that is very, very clear about this is the fact that sometimes you cannot hold your urine.
Okay.
Now, that has happened to me. So I've taken now to wearing black, because you don't see anything when it's black. You wear any other color, they know you have peed yourself.
And so is that as a result of having prostate cancer? You now can't hold your, okay. Because what I was going to ask you.
No, that was before.
That was before.
Since I've had the treatment, that's not been happening.
I
have now a full night's sleep without going to the loo.
Okay. So, and
before, I woke up 3 times through the night.
What I want to ask you, Patrick, as well is, so we've heard your journey through being diagnosed and getting treatment, but can you tell us what exactly is prostate cancer?
Right. Well, the prostate is like a walnut, and it sits directly underneath the bladder. Now, when the prostate becomes active, now men, their prostate becomes active when they cross that 50-year mark. Black men, 5 years earlier. And what then happens is that because of this activity, what then happens is that you then have these buildup of cells. Some of these cells will go rogue, and that forms what we call prostate cancer. Some of them cause the prostate to enlarge, and that's another situation, but not as bad as prostate cancer. So what they do is, there's a machine that we have in this country now where there is a laser, and it shaves the prostate so it can cut it down.
Okay.
Prostatitis is an infection, so it's an antibiotic, thing that can happen. But the symptoms for all 3 are very much the same. That's why you need to get tested. Now, when the prostate begins to become active with cancer or an enlarged prostate or with an infection, it starts squeezing the bladder. So and because also the urethra, the tube that comes from the bladder, right through, that carries the urine, starts to be squeezed. So you find that you have a weak flow.
Okay.
Right? You find that sometimes you have problems in urinating or urinating too often because it's on a continuous basis.
Right.
But since I've had the treatment of chemotherapy, right, I'm all right.
And
I'm
so,
not having to get up in the night.
so other than the urine, the flow of urine either becoming weaker or frequent urination, are there any other signs that men can look out for?
Well, yes, there are, right? And that is, no matter how old you are, right? If you're not sexually active, because your actual body produces sperm anyway, men tend to have what is called a wet dream, of where that becomes, I stopped having that. And I kept wondering, well, what's going on here? And realized that I was not producing sperm at all.
Right.
So if you find that that's been happening to you, you need to start thinking about going to a doctor. But also, it's the pain in the pelvic region. That's not always a big sign, but it can happen. Now, I had that 2-3 years before. That's why I'm saying that there was an issue that wasn't looked at properly. And that should have been picked up.
Yeah, so
because there's no way my PSA could have got to that level that quick.
Yeah, so and to go back, that's when you said you went to the hospital with pains in your back 2 years previous and were sent home. My gosh, because I was looking at it and doing some research, and as you were saying, and I was looking at it, it says prostate cancer it grows slowly, and normally, typically, once you're over 65 years and older, that's when people are diagnosed with it. So you don't really find young men with prostate cancer. And I was looking at it, saying it's rare that you'll find a man under 50 with it. And in doing my research, I found out that prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the US. The second.
Okay.
Yeah.
In this country, it has overtaken breast cancer in terms of the mortality rate.
But
so in the UK, it is becoming a major problem. We do not have a testing regime yet where it's compulsory. Women go when they get to an age to go for breast screening. There is no screening aside for men. All right. Now, Prostate Cancer UK is undergoing all of that research now, but they're also doing a piece of research which is very important, and that is trying to work out why is it that Black men are more susceptible.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you, because again, in looking at it, it was saying that there's 3 kind of main factors to prostate cancer. One is getting older, because it mainly affects men aged over 50. The second I found was having a family history of prostate cancer, because a lot of these illnesses are genetic, hereditary, and so on. But then I was startled at the third thing that I found. The third point was, and it just simply said, being Black. That's it.
Well, there is a fourth, right? And that is, if any woman in the family, that is your direct family, has had breast cancer, right? The BRCA gene, BRCA gene 1 or BRCA2, which is the breast cancer 1 and breast cancer 2 gene, which are carried by women, right? Not all women, but some women, are the ones that are passed down. Now, when it comes into a man, it can come out as breast cancer or prostate cancer. And that is something that needs to be told to your general practitioner. Your doctor needs to be aware that this is a history in the family. Because automatically, these are signs your age, your ethnicity. If there's somebody, if a male in your family has had prostate cancer, or a woman in the family, your mother, your grandmother, your aunt has had breast cancer.
And that's interesting, because to be honest, you would never have made that link, because I know, for example, as a woman, they're like, has any woman in your family ever had breast cancer, diagnosed with it, died of it, and so on. But you don't stop to think that then the genetics of it will obviously change when it comes to a male in the family. Has any woman in your family ever had breast cancer? Because if yes, that could make you a higher risk and more susceptible to prostate cancer. And until you mentioning that, never even stopped to think about that, to even make that connection. And to be honest, in all the research that I've done, I didn't find that. All I have is a family history of prostate cancer, not family history of any cancer, whether it be male or female. And I think that really is something that should be pushed, because you think, you know, the men in the family, if nobody else had prostate cancer, but women had breast cancer, they're going to think they're safe. They're going to think, well,
they need to start thinking, well, I did a talk, and I'm going to give you this one. And the only way that I could say it is to say it in the vernacular, because you could not experience the humor. And I'm standing there, this is what was facing me, right? And I did not know, well, I couldn't laugh because it was a serious matter. I'd given everything that I've just told you. And this man, who happens to be Black, who happens to be 60, said, and I say it in the vernacular, oh my God, me definitely going and dead.
Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord.
Because me 60, me Black, my father had prostate, and my mother had breast cancer. And he started flapping, and I said, wait a minute. Go and see your GP. Tell them these facts. When you tell them, let them be the ones to help you. But you are entitled, at the age you are, for a PSA test. But bearing in mind, it's not the definitive, but it is an indicator. Now, if it is that you have symptoms, and it can be pain that's in your lower back and different things, I said your GP would be the best one to tell you how to do that. Then another one turned around and said, well, if I sneeze in a lot, I said that had nothing to do with it. So take the sneezing out. The sneezing had nothing to do with it, right? I said, buy a handkerchief, you know, and that is what people get all kinds of,
they get panicked.
They get into a tizzy, a panic, when they start hearing these things. And they don't realize that sit back and let the matter, reveal itself. Don't see the door when there is no door. It's a wall. Okay? Don't see the trap door in the corner when there is nothing. It's just a floor. Right? Don't see those things. Turn on the light. If you do, you will see things clearly.
Exactly.
And turning on the light is sitting down and being rational and being objective and being clear about the position you're going to take. You are a man you've crossed 50, you go and get checked. Prevention is 10 times better than cure.
And that's what I wanted to ask you. So I'm glad you said that. Did that age-old saying that we all grew up on, right? Prevention is better than cure. But so can prostate cancer be prevented?
That I could not answer. But what I can say is early detection is life-saving. If it is that you get to 50, or you are at 50 or a little over, and you start, and you go and you get a PSA test, and you start seeing your PSA levels rising, that's good. Now, there was a man that I knew in the church, one of the churches that I was in, and his PSA went to 6, then it went to 11, right? And his doctor then sent him for a PSA test, some other exams, and realized how he had prostate cancer. And I thought, what would this man do if his PSA was as high as mine? Right? What would he have done? And the answer would have been probably, my God, but he is all right now. Now he's had an operation, so he is cured because he removed his prostate. I cannot have this operation because mine has metastasized and it was advanced. So they have to manage my illness now. Right now, I can get paranoid and think, "Oh my gosh, for the rest of my life, oh Lord, for the rest of my life, I have to go through this, I have to go through that." Listen, hey,
That's you make it.
The good thing behind this is that the doctors know, and they know that they have to do right by me. All right, and doing right by me means that you have to see me regularly, whether you want to see me or not. Right? Because I'm turning up, right? And I'm going to be a thorn in your side unless you do things right. And this is the thing that they have to understand, right? So here they know very clearly that I'm not just going to sit back and let this just happen. You have to do right by me. There's a big difference between being aggressive and assertive.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling anyone to be aggressive. I'm telling you need to start being assertive.
And that's what I wanted to ask you, Patrick. Sorry, because if you had been a bit more assertive 2 years previously, rather than because the reason that I say that is we see it so many times on television, on movies and shows and stuff, right? Where the doctor's trying to send the person home and the person's like, "No, I know my body, something's wrong with me." Now, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that are hypochondriacs and they're just like, "Listen, there's nothing wrong with you. Seriously, we've run every test that there is to run. You are fine." But then there are other people where if you think to yourself, "Hold on to something, I'm not feeling right." Really, would you encourage people, listen to your body? And we're not saying that everybody needs to question every medical professional, but I think we've seen it enough times, because I was even speaking to somebody very recently, and their daughter ended up passing away. By the time that they had detected her illness, I think she only had 2 months left to live. So then her children ended up having to now be raised by her mother. And that is literally because she wasn't taken seriously. And this is nothing that I saw in a movie or on a show. This is something that we know has happened to somebody very recently. And because doctors were just like, "Oh, send her home." There's a movie that I watched, and it's based on a true story where this little girl, she was the hospital kept sending her home, and it's only because the mother made a fuss why. And then and as in your case, where it was the same doctor that kept sending her home when a specialist was called, was looking all very sheepish and apologetic. So don't you think it's a case of that people in some cases should be assertive to say, "Look, something's not right"?
Well, I think there are a couple of things there. One is that most of the times as Black people my age, we grew up with a sense of respect for doctors. And when they tell you, well, everything, you don't want to argue that. And you have also respect for people who are older than you. So you don't want to argue that, right? But now that kind of attitude has got to go. You know what is wrong with your body. You know what is going on. Secondly, more so than anything else, as Black men, we don't want to know. If we could avoid finding out, we're happy.
Yeah.
Right? Because to know means we need to act. To act means we need to accept. And that could bring in all kinds of other things. Like, for instance, I could die.
Yeah.
And that is something that I don't think a lot of people want to take on board. Because you're dealing now with the
And
very thing that you never wanted to deal with, and that is your mortality.
yeah.
You know,
That's
and
a hard to follow, though, isn't it, really, when you think about it? Because I was, not in your case, but I was thinking about it and watching a program, and they were given a time period. And I just thought to myself, Lord, what would that be like? Not I particularly want to know, but I just for being empathetic, like what could that possibly feel like to a person to be told you only have this period of time? Don't get me wrong, we're all gonna die. We were born to live and then die. That's just a fact of life. But for most people, we don't know the day, the hour, or anything like that. But for
that's true.
people, you see
And
what I mean? So,
yes,
so, so we just live life because we just don't know when it's going to happen to us. But for people that are actually given that time stamp, so to speak, I just can't begin to fathom what that would be like thinking I've got X amount of weeks or months or years. And I think that is part of it for not just Black men, but for most people, really.
that is a frightening experience, and I can tell you that that's not a nice thing that to encounter, because I've had to face that.
Mm,
And it was something that I had to face every single demon that I had ever encountered, and it was there. And I went into a place that it was dark,
mm,
right? You know, as children, we all knew this particular psalm, Psalm 23,
yeah.
right? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then there's a part that actually goes, yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I can safely say I know what that looks like,
Mm,
because there was a point where I was in that place. I was there, right? And that was not during the treatment. That was before the treatment, when
mm-hmm.
all the shadows were appearing. And you knew that you were about to enter a place that could be even darker.
Right.
That was when the treatment started, because it's chemotherapy. Because
Mm-hmm.
we have this fear of things like chemotherapy. We have this
Yeah.
fear because it's what's told to us.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? What happened 10 years ago? Well, let me even go earlier than that, or so later than that. What happened about, say, 3, 4 years ago is not what's happening now.
Mm,
When I went on to do chemotherapy, I was given drugs to stop any side effects.
mm-hmm.
I was given drugs to stop any illness. I was given drugs, and some of that was to stop any inflammation and pneumonia that was going to come into the system, things that were going to stop the sickness, the vomiting, the diarrhea. All of that I was given up front. I was given drugs to prevent me from going into that place where the chemotherapy could harm me.
Okay.
So I didn't know all that was there. But now, I mentioned this because the guy that died, we compared treatment, and what I was getting, he wasn't. There was a list of medications that I had to take every day, and he wasn't getting that.
And how is that possible, though?
Well, it has to do with whatever. Well, I don't know. I would have thought it was standard, but I was given so much stuff, right? And that's on top of the stuff that I was already taking for my diabetes and my asthma, right? That
Oh,
at one point you're talking about nearly, and I'm not going to exaggerate with this at all, but you were talking about close to nearly 40 tablets a day,
my God.
right? Because I'm already taking, at present right now, I'm already taking 28 tablets to 29 tablets a day, and that's just with the diabetes and the asthma, right? And now I've got some issues in relation to arthritis.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm taking all this medication, and on top of that, I had to take the medication that was the contraction to any sort of effects that chemotherapy was going to give me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that became something that was quite a challenge. I took it with boring regularity because, and again, I'm going to go into the vernacular here. I don't want to miss nothing because I don't want to take it late, because you take it late, it's going to affect you. You take it within the time space.
Okay.
Because when you do, you're going to have a peaceful transition. There were steroids that I had to take that if I took them after 3 o'clock, I did not sleep.
Okay, got you. So it just affected other things.
Yes.
Okay.
And when you don't sleep at night, that is when all the demons start invading.
Yep.
So I wanted to make sure that I was well and truly tucked up in bed, nice and cozy. So I did, and I had a wonderful time, and I went through everything. So my parting things that I would say to anyone listening to this podcast is, if you're Black, right, don't just go on the idea that Black don't crack, because let me tell you something. As a corpse, cracking is the least of the problems, because you will absolutely disintegrate.
Wow.
And you don't want to be a corpse before your time. So if you're Black, go and get checked, especially if you cross that 45-year. Okay. And if the doctor says, where are you getting this information? Say, I heard someone speak who was one who went through this. He lives in the UK, and the organization there is called Prostate Cancer UK, and they're doing pioneering research. And Black men, the age for coming forward to make sure you are in good health is 45.
Right. And that's
secondly, if you have even a twitch in the wrong place, don't sit on it. Third, which is vitally important, get the women folk around you. Because if they're praying, believe me, they will pray open the pearly gates. Because there's one thing I know, is that when women pray, for some reason, God answers and he can hear. Right? Because my sisters, they did this for me. And they stood by me at the most darkest hour. If your wife is there, they will stand by me. But also, if a woman could go with you when you're going in to the consulting room, they will ask questions that you wouldn't even dream of asking.
Yeah, very true.
Right? And they will get away with it. Right? And heaven help the oncologist who does not want to listen to them. Okay? Because that is where you will see the assertion. Not aggression, but assertiveness. You will see it in them and learn. Right? And also, at the end of the day, tell people how you're feeling. Talk to others. Share your experiences. Something is not right. You're peeing too often. Talk to another man the same age as you. So has that been happening to you? No. But, you never know. It's the connections that happen. Right? Someone, just before I came on here, I gave a talk to a building company, which has a lot of men in it. And I gave a talk to them. What the project manager, right, got in touch with me by email telling me that how one of his staff is having a lot of problems because he's just been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Can I give him your number? I said, definitely. Talk to someone. And when you do that, you're going to get the support you need, because men, we need to rally around each other. This is a nasty killer that you don't need to die from. And there we have it.
Patrick, I just want to thank you for so many things. Thank you for your time, firstly. Thank you for being so transparent with your experience and what you've gone through. And thank you for the encouragement that you have given others just by having the attitude that you have in how you are going through this and for the advice that you've shared. So I just really want to thank you. And with the rest of your journey, I just wish you God's blessings and health and strength. And I appreciate you taking the time to share with us today. And
It has
Patrick,
been a pleasure talking.
thank you. And if people wanted more information, you said that they can get information from Prostate Cancer UK.
Yeah. And I have no problems with people having my email address because they can contact me directly if they wish.
Okay. So what I'll do is, if you don't mind, I'll put your email address. I'll put it up with the podcast. But the website is prostatecanceruk.org. So that's prostatecanceruk.org. So people
I think so. Yes, I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, I have it here in front of me. So yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate you. And we will
It's been a pleasure.
All righty, my dear. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much to Patrick and the people at Prostate Cancer UK for allowing us to speak with them and get some more information about prostate cancer. And so for you listening in, I'll just read to you some of the research that I found by going on various websites and looking at oncologist research as to what prostate cancer is. So prostate cancer forms in the tissues of the prostate. It is the third most common cancer and sixth leading cause of death among men in the United States. A common indication of advanced prostate cancer is frequent urination or a weaker flow of urine. There are often no early indications of prostate cancer. Researchers predict 248,530 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2021. It is more common in men that have a family history of prostate cancer. Because it usually grows slowly, patients that are diagnosed with prostate cancer are typically 65 years of age or older. It is very rare for men under the age of 50 to develop the disease. Prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the US. According to Prostate Cancer UK, 1 in 8 men in the UK will get prostate cancer. Age, ethnicity, and family history are also factors. And there are 3 main risk factors for getting prostate cancer, which are things, unfortunately, that can't change. These are getting older. It mainly affects men aged 50 or over. Having a family history of prostate cancer and being Black. Prostate cancer mainly affects men over 50 and your risk increases as you get older. The most common age for men to be diagnosed with prostate cancer is between 65 and 69 years of age. If you are under 50, your risk of being diagnosed with prostate cancer is very low, but it is possible. If you're over 50 and you're worried about your risk of prostate cancer, you may want to speak to your doctor about tests for prostate cancer. If you're over 45 but have a higher risk of prostate cancer because you have a family history of prostate cancer or you are a Black man, you may want to also speak to your doctor, or a specialist nurse can help you understand your risk of getting prostate cancer. Family history and genetics. Your family history is information about any health problem that may have affected any member of your family. Families have many common factors such as their genes, environment, and lifestyle. Together, these factors can help suggest if you are more likely to get certain health conditions. Inside every cell in your body is a set of instructions called genes. These are passed down, or in other words, inherited from our parents. Genes control how the body grows, how it works, and what it looks like. If something goes wrong with one or more genes, known as a gene fault or mutation, it can sometimes cause cancer. Now, is prostate cancer hereditary? If people in your family have prostate cancer, or if a woman in your family has had breast cancer, it might increase your own risk. This is because you may have inherited the same faulty gene. Say, what if your father or a brother has had prostate cancer? Does that increase your risk? You are 2.5 times more likely to get prostate cancer if your father or brother has had it, compared to a man who has had no relatives with prostate cancer. Your chance of getting prostate cancer may be even greater if your father or brother was under 60 years of age when it was diagnosed, or if you have more than one close relative with prostate cancer. Your risk of getting it may also be higher if your mother or a sister has had breast cancer. Although prostate cancer can run in families, having a family history doesn't necessarily mean you will also develop cancer. But it's important that you speak to your doctor if you have had any relatives with prostate cancer or breast cancer, as your risk of hereditary prostate cancer may be higher. If you have a family history, if you are over 45 and your father or brother has had prostate cancer, you may want to speak to your doctor because, as mentioned previously, it may increase your risk and it may help you to understand your hereditary risk of cancer. Black men are more likely to get prostate cancer than any other men. Research shows that they don't know why, but it might be linked to genes. In the UK alone, about 1 in 4 Black men will get prostate cancer in their lifetime. If you have mixed Black ethnicity, you are likely to be at higher risk of prostate cancer than a white man. Research shows again they don't know the exact risk because they don't have enough information, unfortunately, on prostate cancer in men with mixed Black ethnicity. And they don't know whether it makes a difference if it's your mother or father who is Black. If you're a Black man and you're over 45, please speak to your doctor about your risk of prostate cancer, even if you don't have any symptoms, even if it's not hereditary and you don't know anybody else in your family that has either breast cancer or prostate cancer. Please, Black men 45 and older, speak to a doctor, speak to a specialist nurse, and tell them if you have a history of prostate cancer or breast cancer. There is a lot more research that can be done to find out and to read more about the risks in Black men, and research that is being funded by Prostate Cancer UK to find out why Black men are at higher risk. This statistic was worked out by using information about Black men recorded by men that registered as Black African, Black Caribbean, and Black other. Can prostate cancer be prevented? Unfortunately, no one knows how to prevent it, but a healthy lifestyle can be a start. Get your body weight under control. If you're overweight, that could potentially increase your risk of being diagnosed with prostate cancer. That's actually more aggressive or advanced. Eat healthy, exercise, keep active. That can help you maintain a healthy weight. Can you reduce your risk? A healthy diet and regular exercise are important for health, and it might. We're not saying that it can, but it might help lower your risk of being diagnosed with advanced or aggressive prostate cancer. There is more information again that you can find. And if you have been diagnosed with prostate cancer, take a look at information about diet and physical activity for men with prostate cancer. Can a healthy lifestyle reduce your risk? Unfortunately, no one knows how to prevent it. but a healthy lifestyle is important. Whether you're at risk, yes or no, a healthy lifestyle is important. But for more information on prostate cancer, their website, prostatecanceruk.org, has a wealth of information, or a simple Google search looking for researching prostate cancer and information about it is very helpful. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me here on Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.